Enjoy the video, share your insights, and subscribe for the newest narratives. Seize this moment and hold on to it tightly. Never did I envision finding myself in this place, ensnared in a tempest of allegiance and the lingering reality of what transpired. Life delivers unforeseen challenges, dismantling your convictions regarding trust, respect, and your core identity. It commenced on a brisk autumn evening. Mark, my husband, invited a few colleagues over for dinner. It was far from the mundane. Mark devoted 20 years to his company, during which I built strong relationships with his coworkers. Some evolved into companions, trading holiday cards, and savoring brief encounters at corporate gatherings. Yet, Nathan remained isolated, a tempest within the stillness. Nathan, a faint presence within the company, had only recently started to establish his role a year prior. He was younger than Mark, likely in his early 40s, radiating a captivating confidence that attracted everyone around him, an enchanting charm that seemed almost ethereal. He transformed each word into a hushed revelation, every compliment a concealed reality, weaving an unbreakable thread of closeness between you. That night lingered in my mind, an unexpected revelation that I couldn't shake off. We imagined an idyllic dinner, yet destiny had different intentions. The fragrant aroma of rosemary and garlic enveloped the kitchen, drawing attention to the golden roasted chicken emerging from the oven. The candles flickered gently, their light creating playful shadows that swayed in the cozy, welcoming ambience. Mark flourished, his laughter resonating in the air, while I donned the guise of the attentive host, diligently making sure that drinks were plentiful and comfort prevailed. Nathan entered, tardy, grasping a bottle of wine, his smile a facade of confidence. "I hope I'm not too late," he whispered, the wine quivering in his hold as his fingers brushed against mine, igniting a spark that shattered the stillness. I brushed aside the fleeting pain, convincing myself it was just a trick of the mind. The night deepened, drinks poured like secrets, and conversations ignited with fervor. Mark was locked in a tense exchange with his boss over the looming project, while I was ensnared in a conversation with Nathan. The weight of the moment pressing down on me, he was charming, yet tonight, his words carried a weight, a sharpness that cut deeper. "You know Emily," he whispered, his voice a silken blade. "Mark is a fortunate soul," I forced a laugh, masking the sting of the words. "Perhaps I am fortunate as well." Nathan leaned in, eyes locked, intensity crackling in the air. "Were I in his shoes, I'd cling to you forever." That shift in tone hit like a thunderclap, a knot formed in my gut. "I believe he shares my feelings," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, desperate to shift the weight of the moment. Nathan stood his ground, unyielding. As darkness deepened, his words grew daring, innocuous whispers that, when woven together, revealed a sinister design lurking beneath the surface. A lingering touch ignites a storm, a heavy glance pierces the silence, a whispered remark sends chills racing down my spine. I convinced myself it was just my imagination running wild. Perhaps it was the wine that shattered everything, perhaps it was merely Nathan's irresistible allure. As the night drew to a close, Mark ushered the final guests out, but Nathan lingered, caught in a moment of unspoken tension. "Tonight was a fleeting moment, a spark in the dark," he whispered. His voice dropped, a shadow cloaking his face. I yearned for this moment once more, perhaps only we in that fleeting moment. My breath seized, for a heartbeat, doubt gripped me. Had I truly heard him right? Yet, the fire in his gaze, the hint of a smirk on his lips, revealed the truth I feared. Before I could utter a word, Mark stormed back, slamming his hand onto Nathan's back. "So relieved you're here, my friend. Stay alive." Nathan smiled, a fleeting spark in his eyes meeting mine before he vanished through the door. I stood paralyzed, heart racing wildly. Could it be true? Did that just unfold before my eyes? Mark's voice faded into the shadows as he locked up, oblivious. His light tone a stark contrast to the weight in the air. Was that a success? Can you feel the weight of it? Joy echoed in the air, but shadows lingered beneath the surface. I willed a smile to my lips. It was a night to remember, a whirlwind of emotions. As I lay in bed that night, eyes fixed on the ceiling, an unsettling shift clawed at my mind. A shift had occurred. Deep within I felt it, this was far from finished. The morning light pierced through, but a crushing weight settled in my chest. The house lay in silence, pierced only by Mark's distant hum in the kitchen, a ritual of solitude as he brewed his Saturday morning coffee. I convinced myself it was nothing, that Nathan's charm was just a mask, and I was drowning in my own thoughts. Still, despite my strongest efforts to resist, his voice reverberated in my thoughts. His gaze pierced through me, and the brush of his fingers against mine lingered like an unyielding ghost. I pushed through the chaos, emerging from the depths of my slumber, wrapped in my robe, and ventured into the darkness below. "Morning, Han," Mark said, his smile briefly illuminating the room as he extended the steaming mug of coffee. "Have you discovered a moment of peace?" Indeed, I misled, the acrid flavor remaining on my mouth. He swept aside my uncertainty, consumed by his own tempest of thoughts. "Nathan made contact this morning. He asserted that last night was a memory etched in time, a tempest of happiness, and now he yearns for our next meeting." Coffee almost had me in its grasp. Mark continued to be unaware. I encouraged him, "Let's set off on a double date, maybe a spine-chilling dinner at that new steakhouse downtown." I hesitated. Every part of me cried out to decline, to summon any excuse, any rationale to evade Nathan's company yet again. What was I supposed to do? Please let my husband know that his colleague has overstepped a boundary, leaving me feeling uncertain and uncomfortable about their intentions. Only a gut-wrenching instinct, devoid of evidence. I concealed my suffering behind a smile. "That sensation is truly delightful." Mark's smile broke through the stillness. "Without a doubt, I will ensure it comes to fruition." In the days that ensued, I struggled to banish it all from my thoughts. I dove headfirst into distractions, speeding through errands, rekindling connections with echoes of the past, anything to evade the relentless grip of Nathan. Out of nowhere, a message broke through the stillness. "Nathan. Emily. May your day be illuminated with brilliance and joy." Tormented by her words from that night, my stomach twisted in turmoil. I stared at the message, my hands quivering just above the keyboard. I could have walked away, I should have walked away. Yet a part of me ached to unveil that his perceptions were nothing more than a harsh mirage. "Is it me?" "Hello, Nathan. You've entirely overlooked the essence of the matter. I am committed to love, so I kindly ask for professionalism to be upheld." I pressed send, releasing a trembling breath, hoping this would finally come to an end. A heartbeat later, my phone burst into life with a sudden buzz. "Nathan." "Certainly, Emily. I respect that." Clearly expressing the reality. Had fate chosen a different path? I clenched my jaw. He was unstoppable. I chose to hold my tongue. 2 days later, the double date commenced. I balanced precariously on the brink of falsehood, weaving excuses within the confines of my thoughts, yet the dread of being found out restrained me. I emerged dressed in a navy gown, concealing my inner chaos behind a delicate smile. Nathan and Rachel sat, an atmosphere thick with expectation enveloping us as we entered. Rachel embodied love, her eyes a tempest of commitment, perceiving her husband as her entire world, all contained within one delicate heart. My stomach churned in torment. Nathan moved gracefully through the room, laughter escaping his lips, concealing the turmoil inside, feigning that the past was merely a faint echo drowned in the disorder. I captured the passing glances, the charged touch of his knee brushing against mine, the heady intimacy as he leaned closer, the wine bottle quivering in his hand. I found myself trapped, gasping for breath amidst the overwhelming gloom. In the midst of the evening, as Rachel and Mark engaged in conversation, Nathan leaned closer, his voice a soft murmur intended solely for my ears. "You're even more beautiful when you're nervous." I found myself completely immobilized. My heart raced, a tempest of tension as I confronted him. His smirk danced briefly, a hint of mischief just glimpsed in the glow. 2 paths stretched out ahead of me. Allow it to dissipate, wipe it from your recollection as I once managed, or conclude it in this very moment. I took a deep breath, then let my voice break through the stillness, reaching out for Mark and Rachel to understand. Nathan, what compels you to address me in this manner? The stillness enveloped the table like a heavy shroud. Mark's head snapped up. Rachel's eyes widened, engulfed in a tempest of doubt. And Nathan stood there, his expression shifting as the gravity of my actions settled heavily upon him. Mark's brow knitted together, a veil of despair casting a shadow across his features. What is this? Nathan's laughter rang out like fragile glass, a feeble effort to conceal the turmoil brewing inside. It was just a joke, a brief flicker of amusement. It felt like nothing, I responded, my voice calm but devoid of warmth. Rachel's eyes flickered back and forth, her forehead creasing with distress. Nathan? He shook his head, a brief smile concealing the turmoil inside. A heartbreaking error. Let's steer clear of any conflict. The situation had become intolerable, and I was devoid of any feeling. Mark's eyes bore into me, a tempest of uncertainty and concern swirling within them. Emily, how are you holding up? Our eyes met, and in that instant, I revealed the most profound secret of my soul. I can no longer endure this, I admitted. Mark became quiet, the burden of unexpressed thoughts lingering thickly around him. He nodded, then stood, a quiet tempest gathering inside him. It's time to get going. At this moment, Nathan's lips parted, a tempest swirling inside him, yet I averted my gaze, resolute in my decision to remain deaf to his words. I grabbed my purse, cast a regretful look at Rachel, and exited the restaurant in a huff, my husband following closely behind. A sense of unease hung in the air, as if a tempest was gathering in the stillness. Yet, one thing remained clear, this conflict was only in its infancy. The journey back in the car was enveloped in an oppressive silence. Mark's gaze bore into me, an unspoken request for the words that remained unvoiced. I found myself adrift, ensnared in a tempest of my own creation, gazing vacantly through the glass. Finally, we reached our destination, and he spoke a single word. Emily, what happened in that situation? Instance? I inhaled sharply, gripping my purse as if it were my only salvation. Help me articulate this clearly and accurately. Let's do this. His voice, gentle yet tinged with a hint of inner conflict, worry, or perhaps a quiet fury. I confronted him, every word a sharp blade ready to pierce. Nathan's presence envelopes me in a thick shroud of discomfort. Mark's brow furrowed, the weight of inner conflict carved into his features. What do you mean? I swallowed the heaviness of it. That evening, following dinner, his presence hung in the air, overwhelmingly intimate, uncomfortably close. I battled quietly, yet the truth gnawed at my insides. If I stayed silent, the anguish would persist endlessly. Mark's jaw clenched, his knuckles white with rage. Emily, what made you decide to hide this from me? The hours are fleeting. I admitted, unsure whether it was merely a figment of my imagination. I hesitated, concerned that his presence might disrupt the harmony of your workplace. Mark shook his head, his eyes darkened with an unusual intensity. Fury erupts. You meant the world to me. You meant the world to me. Eternally. His words tightened around my heart, and in that instant, I finally breathed in the essence of freedom. Still, the conflict persisted. The following morning, I found Mark in the kitchen, phone gripped firmly in his hands, his expression a portrait of anxiety. What seems to be the issue? I implored. He let out a deep breath, a weighty sigh slipping from his lips. Nathan made contact. He feigns tranquility, asserting that the events of last night were devoid of turmoil. Yet the truth remains, weighty and unaddressed. I chuckled with a hint of bitterness. Disorder that is not desired. Remarkable. Mark's gaze cut through me. I can no longer stand by and watch you endure this pain. I will face him at work, directly and without hesitation. I hesitated. Is that something you genuinely believe? He crossed a line, Mark asserted, his voice quaking with rage. Time and time again. This is unacceptable. This situation is simply intolerable. His voice cut through the stillness, a vow of unwavering determination. A wave of relief enveloped me. That afternoon, while Mark labored diligently, I navigated my day, yet an unsettling heaviness lingered around me. Nathan refused to slip into quietude. I sensed the tempest gathering. Indeed, each heartbeat of truth resonated through the stillness. At 3 p.m., my phone came alive with a sudden buzz. "Nathan, we started off on the wrong foot. It's imperative that we have a conversation immediately. Only we are left." A chill sliced through my very being. No reply received. A short while later, another message came through. "Nathan. Emily, I kindly ask you. It's time to confront reality." I tightened my jaw, my heart pounding furiously. The audacity. I cut the ties. At that instant, I pressed the digits for Mark's number. Mark pushed through the door, fatigue visible in his expression, but a strong determination flickered inside him. What occurred? I steeled myself. Mark inhaled sharply, a sudden breath catching in his throat. At first, he chuckled, brushing aside my emotions as nothing more than an exaggerated response. I revealed it all. "He will not make contact with you again. Eternally. One misstep from him, and I will reveal the truth to our boss. The shadows within him will not let him go." I pressed my teeth into my lip, feeling the sudden jolt of pain surge through me, sharp and electric. And he effortlessly yielded to it. Mark's expression darkened with hopelessness. At first, no. He seethed with rage. "You labeled me as absurd, asserting that you were seizing control. I pledged my trust to him, every bit of it for you." And so, the dialogue reached its concluding sigh. A tightness gripped my throat, stifling the words that longed to escape. "Did you really visit that place?" "Indeed," he murmured, his voice quivering with unexpressed significance. "Emily, my unwavering commitment to you will never falter. This darkness was never yours to confront alone." An overwhelming surge of emotion swept through me. Days stretched endlessly, a heavy weight pressing on my heart, uncertainty eating away at my spirit, dread for Mark enveloping me. In our home, his voice shattered the stillness, awakening a long-hidden emotion within me, ensconced in a delicate cocoon. I held him tightly, a wave of desperation surging within me. Thankfulness resonates in the quiet moments. His lips pressed firmly against my crown. "Your thanks are not needed, my instinct to protect is inherent." In that ephemeral instant, uncertainty crumbled and I yielded to his reality. Still, underneath everything, a persistent sense of dread remained. Nathan stood firm, his determination unwavering. The sense lingered that it remained incomplete, as if something essential was still missing. I yearned for the conclusion to be genuine. Mark's warning resonated profoundly, compelling Nathan to withdraw, never to come back. However, deep down, I grasped the reality. I was correct. 2 days later, as I navigated the grocery store with my cart in tow, I found myself in the produce aisle when a realization struck me. A shadow casts its presence. A shadow looms, uncomfortably close, ominous in its presence. I pivoted, and my heart sank. Nathan. He hovered mere feet away, his gaze sweeping over the apples as though destiny had summoned him to that very spot. Yet, beneath the surface, I grasped the reality. The store stood majestically across town, seeming like a distant realm from his office. He lingered, an apparition in a realm that felt foreign to him. My heart quickened. I pondered the idea of fleeing, but a strong determination anchored me in place, protecting my trepidation from his sight. I squared my shoulders, gripped the bag of oranges tightly, and imagined him as a specter haunting my thoughts. Still, he was unaware of the hidden reality. "Emily," he murmured, his voice smooth and sharp. "What an unexpected delight to encounter you here." I chose to stay quiet. He shifted. With a pulse quickening. "Such cruelty is utterly unjustifiable. Ultimately, a serious miscommunication hangs over our relationship." I confronted him, my heart pounding, the atmosphere heavy with anticipation. Certainty reigned supreme. "Nathan. You have crossed the line. Maintain your space." His smile fractured. That's quite enough. Cut the drama. Is it genuinely dramatic? My voice quaked with a passionate fervor. Contacting you again after ending our relationship? What brings you here? That isn't correct. Nathan. His expression contorted. Shadows inching closer. Finally, the illusion crumbled right in front of me. Are you aware? He murmured softly. Head inclined. Eyes ablaze with fervor. Mark's destiny teeters on the edge of chance. Emily moved with caution. A woman such as yourself captivates the attention of everyone around. Not everything glimmers with brilliance. A chill sliced through my very essence. This was an unyielding struggle for existence. A chilling admonition reverberated in the stillness. I met his gaze, unyielding, concealing the tempest inside. Are you bold enough to issue a threat against me? Nathan lifted his hands, that maddening smirk re-emerging. Not at all. A mere momentary insight into reality. I pivoted, my hands quaking, and made my exit. I dashed away from the cart, my heart pounding, and slammed the car door behind me, sealing off the outside world in a heartbeat. My phone rested in my palm, a reflexive action that occurred before I could even grasp the urge behind it. I contacted Mark. Mark burst through the door, shadows clinging to him like a lingering echo. Rage engulfed him. Did he chase after you? He insisted, his voice a tightly wound string of anger. Indeed, I remarked, and it was more than just an unsettling feeling, Mark. His intention was to instill fear in me. Mark inhaled sharply, the sound of his footsteps reverberating through the stillness of the kitchen. The end has come. Enough with the distractions. I have completed my task. I stifled the fear within me. What will you decide? Which journey will you embark upon? Our eyes met with a spark. I'm currently in a meeting with our boss, and if this doesn't go well, I'll escalate it to HR. Nathan finds himself deprived of this moment. Never to you, to no one whatsoever. Finally, a quiver inside me, a monumental change that transforms everything. A weight lifted, for I was not alone in this battle. Nathan's efforts to break my resolve were in vain. I remained steadfast. Not once more. The next day, Mark expressed his anger by filing a formal complaint with HR. Nathan was acutely aware that he had overstepped a boundary. By the end of the week, he had vanished, abandoning all that he once held dear. Whispers danced in the air, driven by personal motivations, as new horizons called out enticingly. Still, Mark and I carried the truth within us. He disappeared. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of suffocation, I took a deep breath, sensing the vitality return to my lungs. That weekend, Mark and I stayed on the back porch, watching as the sunset bled into the horizon. Are you okay? He inquired, our fingers interlaced, a moment frozen in the fabric of time. I nodded, an unspoken tempest swirling inside me. Indeed, I am convinced that I genuinely am. Mark exhaled, his thumb gliding over my hand with an intense need. I ought to have seen it coming before it slipped away from me. I ought to have. Ah, the burden of that remorse. A lingering presence, a specter that stalks the darkness. I cut the ties. No, he was the one who caused the pain, not you. You were my steadfast support amidst the chaos. A beacon of hope when darkness loomed over me. That encompasses all. He captivated me, his lips softly grazing my forehead. A quiet vow lingering in the atmosphere. Eternally. I smiled, allowing my head to rest gently against his shoulder. A brief respite amidst the tumult of disorder. This haunting experience unveiled the intricacies of my being, the reality of Mark, and the powerful connection we established amidst the shadows. Nathan struggled to escape my hold. Ultimately, he unveiled the true extent of my resilience.